especially this part of the South Asian part that we are in, basically has about 6 seasons.
Okay.
And the outside temperature, the weather, the atmosphere to correct the internal temperature and atmosphere of your body. Come back to Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Because हमेशा सबको ऐसा लगता था कि वो आयुर्वेद तो जब आप बीमार हो तब चाहिए, बट लोगों को ये नहीं पता है कि आयुर्वेद जो है इसीलिए करना जरूरी है कि आप बीमार ही ना पड़ो.
It's a preventative.
It's a preventative care.
Namaste and welcome back to Unblock with Radhika Talati. Most of you who have been listening to this podcast now know my mom, Radhika, really well. But just to recap, she is an entrepreneur, a mountaineer. She is a yoga asana and meditation teacher. She's also extensively studying the Vedas and the Upanishads, and she has spent a lot of time studying Ayurveda as well. And I am fortunate enough to call her my mom and learn these things from her. And I am so honored today to be talking on the topic of Ritucharya. So first, let's just welcome Radhika ma'am. Hi, mom. How are you?
Namaste, everyone. Hi, sweetie pie. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
So mom and I we used to spend a lot of time, and sometimes now in between work, we also spend time discussing things like this. And I have learned the basics of how to lead a life that is in tune with yourself, mainly from her. And I'm very excited to talk about the topic of Ritucharya because, as we know, Dinacharya has now been gaining a lot of traction with media and even in articles that we are asked to write and stuff like that. And Ritucharya is kind of, if I'm not wrong, just a more bigger lens of what Dinacharya is.
Absolutely.
So let's just start with that. What does Ritucharya mean? And just give a brief definition of how that works.
So it's a regime, basically your discipline to live your life according to the seasons. Mm-hmm. Now, India, Bharat is blessed with a variety of seasons. Most of the countries that you see, they're either too tropical or they're too cold or they're too hot. But in India, in this, especially this part of the South Asian part that we are in, basically has about 6 seasons.
Okay.
And so that you can use this charya or this discipline or this regime of the outside temperature, the weather, the atmosphere to correct the internal temperature and atmosphere of your body. So to live your life according to the changing seasons in a disciplined manner is Ritucharya.
So the normal calendar that we've been taught since school, I think, mainly has 4 seasons: summer, winter. Does India have autumn?
It does have autumn.
We have spring, right?
Yes.
So I think those are the 4 seasons.
Yes.
So Ritucharya has 6 though.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that it's divided into more 6?
Because that's the kind of temperature rise, fall, and change in the atmosphere that we see in our country.
So it takes into account all the subtle changes.
All the subtle changes as well.
Got it.
So you have basically Ritucharya is governed on 2 main principles. The first principle is called the Adana Kala. Okay. And the second principle is called as Visarga Kala. So Adana Kala is when the body से सब कुछ बाहर extract हो जाता है. Your internal immunity starts to become weak. Your metabolism doesn't function as effectively. And the Adana Kala is now. This is the time for your Adana Kala from 14th January to 14th of July.
So what is the other one?
So it's called the Uttarayana, where the sun travels to the northern hemisphere. And then you have the Dakshinayana that starts from 14th or 15th of July to 13th of January.
Okay.
And that is called as a Visarga Kala. Visarga Kala is when the body has the opportunity to make up or to infuse energy inside itself. So that is called as Visarga Kala. So it's very easy to remember Ritucharyas because you can go from here, from this point onwards, to either using the outside atmosphere to help you build your metabolism and immunity or lose it.
Got it.
And so it's very, very simply and beautifully explained, especially in the Ashtanga Hridayam, where you have the entire synopsis of how the external environment can affect you internally. So Yatha Brahmande Tatha Pinde. We say this all the time, that whatever is existing outside
Is
is
inside as
existing
well.
within you. And so when we talk about Ritucharya, we talk about developing the natural gut biome. Now, if you see कि बहुत ज़्यादा चर्चा में है gut health and everybody's talking about it and people ask us so many questions
Regulating your
about
nervous system
but
and all
we
of that.
have been talking about gut health for thousands of years. It's just unfortunate that this was not included in our educational system at a very young age. But I think now, by and large, having seen, tried and tested so many different forms of diets, so many different forms of nutrition, people have now started to take a U-turn and come back to Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Because हमेशा सबको ऐसा लगता था कि वो आयुर्वेद तो जब आप बीमार हो तब चाहिए. बट लोगों को ये नहीं पता है कि आयुर्वेद जो है इसीलिए करना जरूरी है कि आप बीमार ही ना पड़ो.
It's a preventative.
It's a preventative care, form of care.
So you've given me a very nice segue into the next thing I wanted to ask you, which is basically the relationship between the human body and the external world, right? I think as humans, because we live in houses with four walls and we have so much technology and maybe protection around us, we forget that we are just another creature in nature.
Right.
And like all the other animals who sometimes have to hibernate or sometimes have to go out and search for food, we have a system that our body is telling us, you need to do this now and you need to do this now. So it's a two-part question. One is, can you elaborate a bit more on that, on just what your observations have been of the natural body when interacting with nature? And the second part of the question is, kind of how can we get more in tune with ourselves and our body's needs? Because right now, a lot of us are struggling to understand, even if we're trying to listen to what our body's saying. So,
okay. So it's a very complicated question, but we'll kind of, because it's just a very basic 101 on what Ritucharya is all about, we need to break it down into simple things.
Okay.
Your relationship with the nature outside or the elements outside. Like I said, that we are made of the Pancha Mahabhutas. We have all the five. So Yatha Brahmande Tatha Priti. So everything that is externally happening is internally affecting.
Very quickly, for anyone listening, Pancha Mahabhutas is fire.
The fire, water, earth, air and ether.
Yeah. Right.
So all the five elements. And so, for example, somebody with a lot of bone degenerative disease, for example, is a Vata Prakriti dosha. Means doshas are the energy forces that react with your body. So what is the connection to the element? The element that the five elements will give you the energy for a particular body to sustain.
Okay.
And to grow and to progress. Correct?
Right.
But there are certain compositions in your body, because each of us are very different. Our DNAs are absolutely different from each other. So our composition is such that for some people with a bone degenerative issue, they're Vata, so they're not aligned or they're very sensitive to the air element.
Right. And
So
Vata is manifested in the body as well, right?
It does. Whatever is outside is manifested
like
inside
gas
you.
and stuff is.
So like how you see chlorophyll being formed in a leaf.
Right.
The more sunlight it gets,
Right.
the better
Got it.
chlorophyll. So same thing. So if you're in tune with nature, if you're in tune with seasons, with water, with fire, like that, with the sun, you tend to protect your body and harmonize your body into becoming a balanced field of energies. So a bone degenerative person has got a lot of Vata dosha. That means anything that he's not doing or she's not doing according to the environment,
Right.
they have the capacity to have weak bones. Similarly, somebody with a Pitta dosha, like you are a aggressively Pitta dosha person. If you don't eat, you feel very giddy. If you eat too
Acid
much,
reflux.
it kind of comes up as an acid reflux. So people
Which is a big problem now. IBS is huge.
IBS is huge also because of our lifestyle, right? So that's why we're talking about Ritucharya. And when we were discussing on what to really talk in this podcast, we thought we should talk about simple things on what people should eat at what time.
Right.
Simple things, So coming back to the dosha. So Pitta dosha basically aggravates the sun energy. So if the sun energy outside and the sun energy inside of you is not balanced,
Right.
it will create an imbalance in the way your food is being digested.
Got it.
So every element that works, even subtly, if it works, obviously we are here in a city, in a concrete jungle, and we don't have natural air or trees or rivers. But if you lived near nature, you will be able to understand the changes in your body the minute the season changes. And that is why we always joke that ab chalo barish ka mausam aa gaya, to sare doctors busy ho gaye. Because everybody's gone there with the flu, you know. Yeah. So the changes in the temperature outside, in the season outside, will trigger a change in your own body.
That brings us to the second part of the question, which is kind of now that most of us, I think most of the people who listen as well, we live in cities, we have jobs that are, in the structure of the 8-hour, 6 days a week in India. We work 6 days a week in India. And so along with that, how do you find maybe moments to kind of connect with that season? First of all, nature maybe around you. And also, how do you find that silence a little bit more?
I think spirituality and health are directly connected to each other, you know. And I feel that the more calm you become, people with kapha doshas are generally I'm a kapha dosha predominant, and now I understand why. So that's the air element. So when you have the kapha dosha predominant in your body, you tend to be active, you tend to be swift, you tend to also calm yourself down or regulate your emotions a lot better. And so when you start meditating, it's an add-on. It's like a more feather in your cap, because you already are empowered. Like somebody like me is empowered internally to, kind of acclimatize myself to the atmosphere, to the universe, to the galaxy and things like that. So when you start doing that, whether you're a pitta dosha or a kapha dosha or a vata dosha person or a combination, because most of us are predominant combinations, we tend to kind of learn to digest food, to remain very, very serene and balanced with our opinion, with our reactions, with our responses. And we also learn to kind of increase the metabolism, the metabolic power of the body. वो बहुत increase हो जाता है जब आप शांत हो जाते हो. So spirituality or mindfulness along with the Ritucharya or the Dinacharya are very, very important, and they are directly connected to each other.
I think what you're saying is also kind of reminding me of just the fact that being present is right now the biggest thing that people are looking for.
That's the mantra.
Even like in healthcare, when people talk about stress, chronic stress, what it does to your body, all that is born out of not being able to stay in the present.
True.
So it really is a very interesting take that the more you can use either spiritual practices to kind of become more grounded now, your health automatically.
You just become more responsible.
Right.
You need to understand that your responsibility first is to your own body. Because if you look at it in the most expansive state, we are nothing but spiritual beings in a physical body.
Right.
Correct? Now, if we connect to that, and if you get rid of all these conundrums that we are into, all of this fast-paced life where we really don't know what we are doing and where we are going, we start to mindfully start eating. We start to eat according to the seasons. We start to eat vegetables, fruits, grains that are important for that season.
Right.
Even if you didn't know the science of Ritucharya and how the body reacts to it, right? If you become just mindful of what you're spending your money, time and energy on, how you're cooking it, how much time are you giving assimilating all of that inside of you, it'll automatically put you in sync with the changing seasons of the year.
It is becoming like responsible enough to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And care about yourself.
Care about yourself first, and then automatically, if each one of us did that, we'd automatically be taking care of the entire environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to get a little bit more into, like you said, there are 6 seasons in Ritucharya. So let's get a little bit more into that. Can you just give us a brief overview? Maybe we might not have time to go into all 6 in detail.
No, but I can quickly talk about the 6 ritus that has been explained.
And just the basic behaviors and habits that are recommended maybe with those
Food
seasons.
especially.
Right, sure.
Right? So suppose we talk about the Adana Kala, that is the Uttarayana state, where I told you that we have from 14th January to 14th of July. It has been divided into 3 parts.
Right.
2 months each part. So the first is the Shishira Rutu that starts from January 14th to the mid of March. And then we have the Vasanta Ritu, which starts from mid-March up till mid-May. Okay. And then we have the Grishma Ritu, where it is very hot,
Summer,
peak summer. That is from mid-May to mid-July. So this is a time when it is a Uttarayana. So your body also has to calm down, because whatever energy that you've accumulated in the Visarga Kala is now going to be used to keep your temperature cool. It's already very hot outside, So the body has to be divided accordingly. And so it is very clearly said that is samay mein ye aapko khana hai, ye aapko nahi khana hai. We'll come back to that later. And then we have the Visarga Kala, which is a Dakshinayana. In Dakshinayana, it is from mid-July to mid-January.
Okay.
Correct. So when we come to Dakshinayana, the first month of Dakshinayana is called as a Varsha Ritu. So you have the monsoons immediately after intense heat. After that, you have the Sharad Ritu, which is from mid-September onwards. The Sharad Ritu is halka thanda lagna, lot of, not very rampant
October,
rain, but
November.
occasional rains. The season changing, it becoming very cool in the night and very hot in the day.
Right.
We experience all that now. And then the last is the Hemant Ritu. So we are right now in Hemant Ritu.
Right.
So
Winter.
Hemant Ritu is from mid-November to mid-January.
Got it.
So these are the classification of the Ritus, and it has been advised कि आपको सबसे ज्यादा आपका मेटाबॉलिज्म स्ट्रॉन्ग क्या करता है, आपकी अग्नि करती है. So we have 13 types of Agni in the body. But we won't go into those details because that's not what this is about. So we talk about two main Agnis. The first is the Jataragni. So they say that when you have active, आपको भूख लगे, when you're hungry,
Digestive fire.
your digestive fire is burning and it is bright. But that does not mean that you're binging at 2 o'clock in the night. That's not the Jataragni we are talking about. We're not talking about the Jataragni when you're emotionally down and you feel like eating. So there's a thin line. Jataragni is during the period of eating. So ideal eating time for all the Ritus is considered from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening.
Between that,
so the intermittent fasting thing has been there in our culture for thousands of years. So they say that 12 hours actively eat in intervals with 2 or 3 meals a day. So they say that your breakfast should be very moderate, where the Western philosophy says that your breakfast should be heavy and large. Ayurveda says that your breakfast should be moderate, your lunch should be good. Your lunch should be like a king. And your dinner should be light.
So 2 light meals and then 1
So
good.
in terms of scale, then it'd be the lightest would be in the evening.
Right.
Thoda sa heavy would be the morning breakfast. The heaviest would be the lunch. So that is what Ayurveda says. And it says that anything that you do after sunset, it slows your body's metabolism down.
Okay.
So they say that during the Visarga Kala, your body is in tune with the outside environment. आपको भूख भी ज़्यादा लगेगी, आपके अंदर एनर्जी भी बहुत ज़्यादा होगी, तो आप खाना अच्छा खाओ. आप मीठा खाओ, आप घी खाओ, आप दही खाओ, आप मूंग खाओ. Everything that is heavy to digest.
Right.
You eat in the winters. And that's why you see all our festivals are designed. So all our mithais come in December. October, November, December. फिर हमारी शादियों का season भी इस समय पे होता है. And then you see Navratra comes and people are binging throughout, But it is advised that जो भी आप करो, after sunset, don't eat.
Right.
So if you're eating after sunset, then you will not be respecting your body. And I know it is very difficult. But I think more and more people are now consciously trying their best not to eat beyond 7:30. But even if you have to eat at say 8:30 or 9, then reduce the intake of your food.
Right.
So just go for maybe one bowl of soup or some khichdi or dalia, things like that to keep it light so that the body will get its time that it is required for it to do its work.
Yeah. I think with a lot of these adjustments and habits that people make also, they look for perfectionism in the habit, which kind of, I understand consistency is important and everything, but once you aim for perfectionism, like every single day it has to be this way, I think that's what stops a lot of people from doing it also. So what do you suggest for people who maybe are like that and are maybe just like scared to go into something or scared to commit to something if they're not 100% committed?
I personally feel that stick to foods that you like.
Okay.
And just keep it as a rule that you will stick to the foods that you like. And your rule number 1 is that you will eat the food that is available in that season. You can do that much. You start with that.
Okay.
That I know I will not eat refrigerated frozen mango in November.
Got it.
You can start with that.
So eat
you can,
seasonal
you can do
first.
simple things like, we have this habit in many families to keep the tomato purees in the freezer, and then have all these matar peas, which is not available during summer. You freeze them in January. So wo sab aap,
बंद कर
you
दो.
start with that first. Second thing that you do is that try not to eat beyond 7:30. That can
Okay.
be the second step that you can do.
Okay.
Third, you make it a mindful practice to stay on a liquid diet once a week,
Okay.
right? So when I say liquid diet, I don't mean that you just drink water. You drink juices. You can have shakes. You can have soups.
Smoothies.
So smoothies
Are not
it's a little too much.
Okay.
But you can have a good smoothie for breakfast.
Right.
So, but you cannot indulge in it. The whole idea is that you need to allow 12 hours for your stomach to digest it.
It's also a practice in restraint.
Absolutely. When you look at the gut biome,
Right.
when we talk about gut, we all think that it's the stomach, but it's actually the large and the small intestine and the colon, where all of these 100 trillion bacteria thrive to create an environment, to create a biome where their only intention of that bacteria is to help you digest your food.
Right.
Now, if you're eating foods that are good for the tongue but not good for your stomach, the brain receives dopamine from the gut.
Okay.
So you're liking bhajiyas, the gut will love the taste of the bhajiyas. That particular bacteria will convert itself from a good bacteria to a bad bacteria.
And serotonin.
And then it'll send that message to the brain. So every time you love eating those bhajiyas. But beyond the tongue, the bhajia has really no nutritional value. So you have to be mindful. I'm not saying that, you have to leave everything. But I also believe that you can do all of this in moderation.
Right.
For example, when we come to the Grishma Ritu, we should try not to have too many cold things. And what do? We have all the cold fluids during summer.
Because we're feeling hot outside.
Yes, because you are then vanquishing the digestive fire. So ये कुछ basic intelligence है. If you can, look it up, talk to a good Ayurvedic doctor, understand what your dosha is, and do simple mindful things. Like, the Ritucharya always suggests that you have to include all the 6 rasas in your food. So bitter ho gaya, salty ho gaya, turu ho gaya, which is a neutral. Then you have tikha, tikshna, which is very spicy, misht, which is very sweet. So if you include all these rasas in your day-to-day diet, per week, per month, if you make a conscious effort, it'll help you change the way your entire gut biome works. And if your gut biome is good, your hair is good, your skin is good, your bone is good, your eyesight is good, your hearing is good.
Overall, you feel an
Absolutely.
improvement. I think one thing I really like that you touched on is also intake of nutrition, how we don't really think of that when we eat. We just eat to feel full. But that's another topic by itself, I think. Just to conclude, I would really like you to tell us about, how following Ritucharya, some noticeable changes, maybe once you've done it for a certain amount of time. And also, I'm very interested in your comment on lifestyle diseases and how doing something as simple as Ritucharya, maybe even 4 or 5 things from Ritucharya,
absolutely
can affect that.
Simple things like we have in our Indian traditional systems and across the country, we have all these dadi and nani's recipes of achar, prebiotic, probiotic. We talk about it so much. We talk about kashayams. We talk about chavan prash, there are lepams. So laddu, til ke laddu khao, or summer mein aap zyada chhash piyo, ya aam ka panna piyo. So these are nothing, these were introduced in the form of festivals, in the form of rituals, so that people would ingest it at that particular time during that particular Rashi.
Right.
And when you're able to tune into that, to tune into what your ancestors were doing, many of your lifestyle diseases would disappear.
Right.
Diabetes ho gaya, hai kya diabetes? It's nothing but your metabolism breaking down. It does not digest the sugar anymore. तो आपके अंदर ग्लूकोज इतना ज्यादा बढ़ गया है और वो ग्लूकोज आप यूज ही नहीं कर रहे हो. So that means that when you tune into Ritucharya, you mindfully tune into spiritual practices, you mindfully tune into Vyayama, you mindfully tune into Abhyanga, and lubricating the body, moisturizing the body, internal, external, is extremely important. And it's very, very important also to be mindful about what you're putting into your mouth, what you're applying on your skin.
About it a little bit.
Everything. because your skin is the largest porous organ.
I think it's become so normal for us to just like grab whatever's available.
Yes.
Because we have so many options. I think that also sends into
Swiggy,
paralysis.
Zomato.
And so I think we are just more focused on like, okay, I've checked a box, I'm done.
Actually, we
But
need
maybe
more
stopping.
people. We need more people. This is one more thing that many people ask me, said, ma'am, it sounds fantastic, but we have no time to make this. So we have such wonderful delivery partners like Swiggy and Zomato. Now imagine there were vendors who were catering this. Mindful food, seasonal food. You still have access to it. So I think more and more people should come up with their dadi and nani recipes and, bring it out there.
Mom is highly against getting food in delivery.
No, because I feel there's a lot
of
of
the plastic and the heat that what happens to the food.
No other reason.
Because it depletes the nutrition value.
Absolutely. There isn't any nutrition. If you're trying to tell me that there are, we have our own cafeteria. How many cafeterias like that do you know exist? Where we think of slow, where everything is cut fresh and prepared fresh.
So be mindful.
Yeah, just be mindful. And you know what? All the youngsters out there who was listening to this podcast, please get up and start cooking. It's important. Even if you pick up those vegetables, clean them, cut them and cook them, it's a therapy in itself. And, by the statistics of it, the most popular videos on Reels are cat reels first and cooking reels next. So
cats have taken over.
Cats. But if you can even listen and see the way cats behave, animals, they will not eat when they are ill. But what do? We eat and we keep binge eating even when we are not well. So learn to kind of go on a hot water fast, go on a liquid fast, learn to eat moderate amount of food, try to chew your food as much as possible. Sit down, eat with your hands using pranic energy. Say a grace or a prayer of gratitude when you eat. Become more mindful of the food that you are getting. Because everything is food, right?
Yeah.
Everything, this whole world, this whole universe, this whole srishti is based on food. Right? So food plays the most important part in our lives. So even we are gathering socially or we are meeting people casually, it's always over a cup of coffee or some food. So that food that is so important for you, if that can be consumed the way our ancestors have told us to, it will make a huge difference in your health.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we've learned a lot today. I have learned new things. And thank you all for listening and watching. And if you want to hear about more topics like these with Mom, please let us know and we will do more videos. Again, thank you so much and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lavanya. Thank you.